topic of the day. Really strange. Intentional intoxication. I want to spend about 5 minutes or less talking about this. And then I want to do an exercise, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more. And then I'm going to do another exercise, and then another exercise. And then we're going to do a discovery intention. You're going to break into small groups. So I don't want to just visit about this idea. I actually want to have you think about it. Now, like with all ideas, please do not quote me out of context, because I'm going to say some things in the next few minutes that if you took it out of context would really sound crazy. As a matter of fact, if you quoted me out of context, or if you took a little audio clip, I could probably get in, my credibility would suffer. Because I really am recommending intentionally intoxicating. I'm recommending altering your consciousness. But the reason I don't want you to take me out of context is because some people, when they think of intoxication, only think of alcohol, and that's not true. Some people think of drugs, but intoxication goes beyond that. The definition of it's up on your screen. It's to affect with temporary, diminished physical and mental control by means of alcohol or a drug or another substance. And I really want to focus on those other substances. Now, I'm not saying that getting intoxicated by alcohol is always bad, because it's not always bad. Getting intoxicated by other drugs is not always bad, in my opinion. And but I want to focus on all the ways we intoxicate. And I'm recommending that when you intoxicate, that you do it intentionally, that you do it with great focus and attention. Because the second definition of intoxicate is to make enthusiastic. And the dictionary defines enthusiasm as deriving from the Greek enthusiasmos, or however you pronounce that. It's up on your screen, which is in theos, or in God. And I think that's what enthusiasm is. Enthusiasm, excitement, motivation, energy. That's what I believe we all want. And that's part of what intoxication gives us. Every culture that I've known of since the beginning of time, all the reading I've done, points to people getting intoxicated. All over the world. I've traveled to 54 countries so far. And in every one of those countries, including Saudi Arabia, where alcohol is illegal, including the outback of the Amazon, where no products arrive, these people get intoxicated on different items. Might be sugar and caffeine, and I know some of you don't think of that as an intoxicant, but I am sure that it is. Or it might be chicha, which is it's a beer-like substance made by Antioch root. Antioch, not Antioch, Antioch root. I was in the middle of the Amazon about 15 years ago, met with a tribe of Achuar Indians who had never sat down and met with white people. Up until a few years ago, before that, they were headhunters, and they lived off the land. And 80% of their calories came from the intoxicating beverage that they ate, that they drank. They didn't eat much. They had a little plantain, a little wild boar. But they didn't do any cultivation. They just lived off the land, and mostly their calories came from chicha, which is this, they took Antioch root, chewed it up, spit it in a bowl. The women did this. It was their job. They chew the root, spit it in a bowl, bury it. It would ferment. They'd take it out. They'd drink it, and they get high. Even animals do it. It's amazing how many animals eat and drink to get high. Elephants do it all over Africa when the fruit drops off the trees, and chimpanzees do it. They eat the fermented fruit, and they go around. They're drunk. Cows eat loco grass. Felines eat catnip. Moths eat datura. A datura is a hallucinogen. So we got all these moths floating around hallucinating. Goats eat a particular kind of mushroom and something called khat, K-H-A-T, and it causes euphoria. So the point is, people all over the world do it, from all time have done it, animals do it, and what I'm recommending is that you do it. It's just be very careful. So I want to add a little caution here, and then we're going to do an exercise. The caution is that I strongly recommend against alcohol if you're an alcoholic. I strongly recommend against intoxicating on sugar if you're overweight. Caffeine if you are like I am most of my life. I went cuckoo for most of my life if I had even a little caffeine. I recommend against heroin if you are human. I recommend against anything that you don't know the purity of. I recommend against potentially addictive substances if you tend toward addiction. I recommend against anything that you are worried will affect you adversely, or of course, if your doctor recommends against it. We're going to talk about the ways in which you can intoxicate in a minute. But I just want to tell you that I recommend against a lot of things, but I do, from personal experience, can recommend a lot of ways to intoxicate. This is a short list, but excessive sleep really does put you into an altered state. If I want to be most creative, I just really sleep a lot, and my dreams start being very available to me. I also really love hot and cold water plunges. I go to this place called Harbin Hot Springs out here, and they have this 113-degree water. I get in there. It gets so hot. It takes a long time to get in there. And then they've got this water that comes right out of the ground, so it's 53 degrees, and you go in there. You do that back and forth about 5 times, and it is like a 3-martini lunch, but way better because there's no after effect, there's no lethargy, but there is major intoxication. I also recommend air in large quantities. I'll talk about this later, but it's holotropic breath work is one of the names of it, but it's really a great way to intoxicate.
Well, I love this concept. I remember when we were children, we used to, before we knew anything about this, we used to use all different types of methods to alter our mood, and spinning around and holding our breaths and standing up quickly. So I want to point out that children do this kind of intuitively. But one of the things I noticed when you brought this concept up many years ago, or at least I got some inside knowledge to this concept, was when I started thinking about this idea, one of the first things that I decided that I committed to personally was to never get so intoxicated that I couldn't handle any situation that came up. And that was a shift for me because there have been times when I party like everybody else and I get a little too much. But since I committed myself to that, I could handle any situation that comes up, and I haven't deviated many times in the last 5 or 6 years. So that's one of the benefits that came out of this strategy for me.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Well, now I want to do the exercise. And the exercise is, what do you see as intoxicants? Bill just mentioned spinning, and he mentioned breath. I talked about that too, but I remember, like Bill, when I was a little kid, we'd kneel down, we'd take these really deep breaths, and then we'd jump up and blow on our thumbs, and we'd pass out, and we just thought that was so funny. Now, I'm not recommending that one, by the way, at all. Matter of fact, I'll recommend against that one. But breath is a powerful way to intoxicate. But I'm going to be quiet now for a minute because I want you to think. I don't want me just to speak, and I really appreciate your additions here and your questions. But I'd like you to start a list of intoxicants. And in a few minutes after we do that list, you can cross off the ones that you don't ever want to do. And you can circle the ones that you think are really something you're going to experiment with intentionally. But for now, please make your list. And don't circle or cross off until we get a chance to talk. 1 minute. if you're listening to the recording, please do the same. A list of all the ways you know people intoxicate. Begin. So I'd like to hear. Please hit 1 on your keypad and give me 3 on your list. Not necessarily 3 that you will ever do or that you have ever done, just 3 that you know of. 3 intoxicants, because I want to get a long list here of all the possibilities. So a bunch of you, hit 1 on your keypad right now, and I'll call on you, and you give me 3 possibilities, because we've got a few on this list, and some of you don't even consider some of these intoxicants. I mean, you use so much sugar that you've developed a what they call tolerance. But I didn't have any sugar products, any honey, any agave nectar. For 17 years, I had no sugar. And I'll tell you, when I first had my first sugar, it was intoxicating. So it really works. It's the same thing about nicotine. Now, I know we all agree that nicotine's a problem, but really, nicotine is about the only drug, according to Newsweek about 2 months ago, that actually improves mental functioning. Now, it's not that I'm recommending it. I'm certainly not recommending smoking. Both my parents died of lung cancer. But I do want to have it on the list of intoxicants, because I want it to be a long list. I want the list to come from you as well as from me. Now, there's some obvious ones that aren't on there yet. All right. Well, I do think that our consciousness is altered in each one of those. I'm not sure that reading and workshops meet the definition of impairing us physically or mentally, but maybe they do. So I'm not going to take them off there. I like them, and certainly we want to make a long list. Yeah. And standing on your head. Never thought of that one. This is really fun that you're thinking of ones that I hadn't thought of, and that's my goal, is to have us all think what we've never thought. So let's come up with a few more. These are great. Fun to have so many different examples. Let me add a few more to the list, and I want to come back to this whole idea of what's called holotropic, H-O-L-O-T-R-O-P-I-C, breath work. And it's hyperventilating. And it's breathing in a way that you almost don't stop at the top or stop at the bottom of your breath. It kind of sounds like this. So those really deep breaths that are continuous, so you don't have to make the sound along with it. But I've done this several times for somewhere between 15 to 60 minutes, and I've never gotten so altered. It's one of the most mind-altering experiences that I've ever had. Now, like with everything, I don't recommend you do it alone, and I don't recommend you do it unsupervised if you've never done it, but it's an amazing way to alter your consciousness. So some of you might want to put that on your list. Fasting. You might want to put that down there. Caffeine. I just read a book about caffeine, and when it was introduced in England, it was introduced at the universities as an elixir to promote thinking. It wasn't even brewed yet to taste palatable. It tasted terrible, and it was done to stimulate thought. So put caffeine on your list. Ayahuasca. Check that one out. Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca. It's used in religious ceremonies all around the Amazon, and like all intoxicants, needs to be highly respected. Now, here's the end of the exercise. Please go back through your list and circle those that you want to try intentionally. Like for some of you, it's the hot, cold water plunge. For some of you, it's air. For some of you, who knows what's on your list? It's dancing, like the Native Americans do in a sun dance. Boy, they alter their consciousness by fasting and dancing and singing and drumming. So, and then cross off the ones that you know that you won't do, because Again, as I started earlier, if you're an alcoholic, do not use alcohol to intoxicate with. If you're prone to addiction, do not experiment with cocaine ever, because some people use that once and that's it. Um, if you are diabetic, do not alter your consciousness with sugar. Please, it could kill you. And so could a lot of these intoxicants. So cross off the ones now, while I'm talking. Cross off the ones that you won't use. Circle the ones that you think you might use. And now I've got another quick, about a 4-minute lecturette. How do you do it intentionally? What I'm recommending is that you write it down. The way you do it intentionally is that before you start, you write. And of course, while you're writing, you're thinking. And you write your purpose, in other words, the why of getting intoxicated. What's the value? What's the benefit? What's your purpose of this intoxication? And then you even write about intended results. In other words, what do you want to get out of it? This time of intentional intoxication. Is it insights? And if so, what kind of insights? Is it fun? If so, what kind of fun? What are the results? Is it laughter? Well, that's one of your intended results, but you write it. And then you also write possible actions. So what might you do while you're intoxicated? I also think it's really important to write down fears, because when you get into an altered state of consciousnith, things happen. And you want to know beforehand what you fear might happen so that you can write about the fifth area, which is safeguards. So you think, you write, and then you maybe even speak these to others who, if you're going to get intoxicated with others. Now, some people say, well, you should never get intoxicated alone. Well, gosh, I think it's great to get intoxicated alone so long as you're safe. And I think if you're going to get intoxicated with others, it's really important to speak your purpose, your intended results, your possible actions, or inactions, like I might do this, but I'm not going to do this, your fears, and any safeguards you want to put in place. Safeguards in the traditional idea of intoxicating with alcohol, of course, are designated drivers. But safeguards in the work, for example, the holotropic breath work, it's also called rebirthing, if you want to learn more about it, rebirthing breath work. Safeguards are people to bring you down, because hyperventilating is something that once you get started, if you haven't been guided, it's a little hard to stop. If you get too excited, too nervous, then you just keep hyperventilating, and you don't want to do that. That's the longer answer. You write about it, you think about it, and then you talk to others about it, and that's how I know that you can do it intentionally. Well, now we're going to talk about the purpose. What would be your purpose of intoxication? So one of them might be laughing more. One of them might be deep insight. So I'm once again going to be quiet while you write. This time I'm going to just be quiet for 45 seconds while you write some of your purposes for intentional intoxication. Begin. What would be your purpose? Another one that I've often heard of is, well, of course, it's to enhance pleasure. That's why a lot of people get intoxicated. It's because for some people, food tastes better, drinks taste better, flowers smell greater. But what might be your purpose? For some people, it's to think what they've never thought. It's creativity. To say what they've never said. It's that release of inhibitions, that candor, because intoxicants promote candor. to feel what they've never felt. It's often to feel what you've never felt. To accept what you've never accepted. I think sometimes when we're altered, it's a little easier to move toward love.